What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Blackwater podcast. This is Thursday, October the 22nd, episode number 11. And our sponsor of today's episode is Perfect 4. That's Perfect number 4 OUR. They are another YouTube channel. It's two young boys that have a passion for hunting. And this is kind of funny. I was just clicking through watching some videos, found a video of two little guys that were in their house doing a stereotype on shot placement and stuff of deer hunters with a Nerf gun. It was absolutely a hilarious video. I was rolling watching the video. Reminded me of something me and my buddies would have done when we were kids. And left a comment on how funny or how much I liked the video. Thought they were doing a great job. And they commented back that they had actually watched and subscribed to the Blackwater channel and liked what we were doing, really enjoyed it, asked if I would be willing to give them a shout out. And so I told them, better yet, I'll just make you the sponsor of this video because it's not like we have any paying sponsors anyways. So Perfect 4 is the sponsor of today's video. I will drop a link to their channel in the description below. And if you guys want to, feel free to go check them out if you're wanting a good laugh. That video is actually hilarious. Not like we can do a whole bunch for them. We don't have a very big channel either. So we're definitely not going to make them famous. But I did want to give them that shout out or sponsor the video that that they asked for, because I love seeing young guys that are passionate about outdoors. And not only are they passionate about it, they're being proactive. And I think that's pretty cool. So in my book, you guys over at Perfect 4 are doing a great job. I hope y'all keep it up. Continue the passion you guys have for the outdoors. And if it's your dream to have a job in this industry one day, just keep pushing. You guys are going to do great. Don't quit. Just keep going until you make it what you want to make it. Anyways, I told them for giving them or letting them be the sponsor of today's video that they had to give me a topic for the podcast. They had two options they sent my way. One was fishing. I'm not the guy to be given any types of talks about fishing. I usually pay guides to go fishing, and that way I can go to the right spot and catch fish and not go out there and twiddle my thumbs all day. And their second topic was scouting, which I can do. So today's podcast, episode 11, is scouting really that important? And we'll get into that in just a second. And I think that, or get into detail about that in just a second. I think it's obviously very important, but I also live in the state of Texas. And in the state of Texas, it does not have, I'm not going to say it's not important in Texas, because there are a lot of people that are very good at scouting and do a great job scouting here in the state of Texas. Not saying that at all. Definitely not even saying that I have great scouting skills. I know what I do and what works for me, and I use tools that are around me to make my scouting better than it would be had I just run out there and try to do it on a whim. But it is no doubt that people that are in other states that have more public land and try to hunt public land consistently, religiously, however you want to say it, they spend a lot more time scouting. What you find in the state of Texas a lot is you will find, since we are able to bait, a lot of times you'll find that if you go on a lot of these bigger ranches, blinds are really close to the road because it's easy pick up and drop off points. And then somewhere, depending on if you're rifle hunting or bow hunting, somewhere within 20 to 100 yards away from the blind, you're going to find a feeder. A lot of times you'll even find a feed pen around the feeder that, help keep cows out or pigs out or whatever you're trying to do. But in Texas, we, I guess we could say, or I could say, we spend a lot of our time trying to get the deer to come to us as opposed to us going to the deer or whatever other species you're hunting at the time. The importance of scouting, though, I think really occurs when you're going to an unfamiliar area, which can still happen in the state of Texas. For instance, for those of you that watched my last video, when I blew my chance on the nail guy for being dumb, I had my tracker on when I was putting the stalk on that nail guy, and I had my tracker on, and when we got back, mind you, I had scouted this property on Onyx, and I use Onyx because I used to use Hunt Stand. I got turned on to Onyx And Jancy and I talked about it. We signed up for Onyx, got us a membership on there, and then I really spent some time learning the features. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you are interested in scouting at all, Onyx is a very important tool to have in your bag, because they have great layouts. It's extremely user-friendly interface. They're 3D. They just came out with a 3D application that's on there also. And as far as topography goes, that's probably the best thing that I've seen, even better than Google Earth, in my opinion, as far as flattening it out and looking at your contour, especially for guys that have trouble sometimes reading a true topography map that just shows lines with, elevations on them. Sometimes it's tough. It's even tough for me a lot of times to read those and take into consideration what those lines, how far those drop-offs actually are. But on Onyx, especially with the new 3D, you can flip that to where it's flat and see the rise and fall of the topography. And that, just being able to see it and not have to think about it makes a huge difference. But anyways, so you have that. It's easy to leave pin drops on places and label your pin drops, and you turn your tracker on and off to see what you've been doing. On your pin drops, they got so many different labels that your pin drop could actually mean or stand for. And then it is super simple to share a pin drop. My 4-year-old would have no problem sharing a pin drop of where she was at to me by just holding the button down, clicking share, and picking the person in your contacts list you want to share it to. So super simple, and it's a great tool. Back to the point. After I missed that nail guy with my bow, I walked on over to where JJ was, and we came, talking about it, came looking back through the area, and looked down on my tracker on the Onyx map, and I had spent about 3 or 4 days e-scouting, which e-scouting is, using Onyx to scout that piece of property. I'd spent about 3 or 4 days marking where I thought we should set up with our bows to give us the best chance of getting a nail guy with a bow in the daytime. Okay, nail guy are much easier to hunt at night than they are in the daytime, but that was our goal. And so I spent all that time doing that, and by using Onyx, being able to use the 3D version also, which gives so much more of a detailed look, I was able to actually see travel corridors, like hardcore paths, trails, that these things were using to come off of refuge land and onto this private ranch that we were hunting on, and how they were making their funnel around. There was a big creek on there. There was a hard trail that would come through and go through some of this coastal looking monkey grass stuff and into a big section of yopons, and it took them right down to the creek, and they were just following this waterway all the way around. And so when we got back and started talking about it, I looked up on the map to show him where I was at, and it was 40 yards from one of my X's that I put on the map as a spot to sit. And so that just goes to show you that if you really pay attention to those things, and I'll share with you the three things that I really use later, how important scouting can be when you go on a hunt or find a new property. Because had I not done that, your other option is, let's go ride around until we see one, and then once we see one, we'll kind of know what area they're in, and we can, go from there. And I can tell you this for a fact: if you're hunting nail guy and you're trying to hunt one with a bow, if you're riding in a vehicle and you see one, it's over. It's too late. If you've got a rifle, you might be able to get out, or however your deal is, you might be able to get out and get on sticks or be above the truck in a high rack, and you might be able to reach out there at 200 yards or so and get a shot before they take off. But if you're going with a bow, once their nose wasn't very good, but their eyesight was just impeccable. Once they see you, it's over. Any movement towards them from that point forward is done. So if you're trying to bow hunt one, the theory of let's ride around and see where they're at, and then we'll move in from there, it's just not going to work very well. Somebody might be able to pull it off. Somebody might be better at spotting and stalking than I am. and they might be able to pull it off. But knowing the areas they were in ahead of time and me just easing around there on foot put me in the position that I needed to be to kill one. I just did not make the proper shot. Anyways, going back from Texas to other areas, and I will keep this kind of, I would say Texas specific, but I'm also going to, like I've told you before, going to Colorado here in a couple weeks to try to elk hunt. And so I've been doing some very extensive e-scouting through Onyx on that also, and I'm hoping that I will have the same results there that we did with the Nell guy, short of not being able to put one in the back of the truck, but as far as being able to get in an area that we're actually going to see some bulls at. The kicker to this scouting thing, in my opinion, is three things as far as what you're looking for on the map. And that is food, water, and travel corridor / pinch points. Okay, you hear a lot of people say pinch points, and sometimes that's tough for people to decipher. A lot of people use the word at times, and they might have a different meaning for the word pinch point than their buddy has for the word pinch point. It's just the travel corridors, the natural funnels, I guess you could say, of the land that would almost force an animal from point A to point B. So if they're coming from that pasture across to this pasture to go to a food source or a water hole down here, what's the path that the majority of animals take to get there? And that's what you're looking for on the map. Like I said, you can see a lot of these trails on the map. If you're in an area that has cattle, the cattle trails are going to be way more defined on your map. Okay, and so you got to kind of take that into consideration. Don't trick yourself by thinking, look at these 9 million deer trails on here, and they're all, 2 foot wide, beat down, no grass, solid dirt paths they're going through there. Look for subtle changes in, a faint line that's running through an area that is walled off by a creek bed on one side, or has a fence on one side, because they'll travel that a lot, and figure out where that faint line is from point A to food source, water source, bedding area source. That's going to be your main travel corridors. Your contour, your topography, using that 3D, that plays a big deal into it, because you're going to see a lot of times they're going to be walking on these shelves or down in the valleys, coming off these higher points to get down to where they're going, but also to be able to have an easy access route to get away from predators or other hunters. They're going to have some form of cover to get from where that is, whatever their last goal is, the water, the food, or the bed. They're going to have some kind of cover to get from there to escape. It's not a it's more common to see them walking in areas or traveling in areas that keep them well hidden than it is to just say, yep, they're going to walk right across the middle of this pasture and, just hang out in there all day. Some places they do that. I understand that. But when scouting, look for those travel corridors, especially if you're looking for big bucks, big bulls, whatever you're looking for. The food and water, if you're in Texas, food sources are pretty easy to find. You can pretty much zoom in and find a feeder. But they will have natural feeding areas also. And so that's very important to know too. What type of vegetation is in your area that the deer like? And keep in mind that deer know what's good for them, and they eat what's good for them. They know what their bodies needs. They know what their body needs, and that's what they're going to consume. And so figure out what species in your area have that high protein in them that the deer are looking for, and go find those on your property. Okay, that's something that you're probably going to have to get out on foot and figure out. Drive around your place, figure out where that plant species is predominant in your area. Put a pin drop on it. Get back on your map and figure out where's that subtle trail coming from to get to this area, and where are they going from here. That's pretty easy to do. It just takes a little bit of time for you to actually get out there, pound some pavement, and figure that out. The water, and let me say this too, once you find that, okay, I've seen a lot of guys, got some buddies and stuff that do this a lot, that you look at the map on where their pin drops are, and every one of them on Onyx is just the red Onyx X. All right. Well, if you're going to do this right, you have to be organized with your labeling. And so when you find that plant or food source, whatever it is that they're hitting pretty hard, mark it as a food source on your map. Real easy to do. They got 4,000 symbols on there that you can pick from. Mark it as something that correlates to a food source. When you find your water, mark all your water as something that correlates to a food source. So get on your map and build yourself a really nice key label that sucker up. Put food sources everywhere you find food sources. Put your water points everywhere you find your water points. And then start looking at those and figuring out, where do those subtle trails go from this to this to this? Labeling your bedding areas, the whole 9 yards, and figure out where they go from point A to point B to point C. And then you can start figuring out, that's where I need to hunt. That's where I'm going to see some deer. The best way to do that is get it labeled out on your map, especially if this is a property that you have easy access to. Get it labeled out on your map, and then pick 1 or 2 areas and go out there for a morning and watch one area and see, watch it from afar, use good glass. Am I seeing deer move through there like I'm thinking they're moving through there on my map? And then in the evening, go to another area you have pinpointed on your map and watch and see, are they doing that through there? And if they are, now you have a good idea of how to get in there, hang a set, be able to play the wind. That's another great thing about Onyx, is you can look down at your pins, you can see which way the wind's blowing, and you can go, that one's going to be great to get in and hunt today because I know my deer are coming from from east to west, and I know that I can get in on this point right here and be out of the wind and be out of sight, and I can sneak in without blowing anything out. You can also look at it and then be in the reverse manner and say, if I try to get in there today, I'm going to blow everything out of the woods and I'm not going to see a thing. So it's very important to be able to do that. The next thing is, once you find your points, you find that the deer are coming in there, and you're looking for big mature deer. The next thing is to get yourself a good set of cameras. I used to use Spy Point. I've switched from Spy Point now to these Muddy cameras. They are the cellular cameras. They work great. I'm getting better signal through AT&T than I was getting with the Spy Points. And my problem with the Spy Point is they're $100 to $150 camera depending on where you buy them. And once you get them set up, I've been having a horrible squirrel issue with them. And so it's I'll put them out. And Jancy actually brought this up, and it was kind of funny. He said, I wonder if they make their antennas with peanut oil, which that would have never crossed my mind, but it did cross his mind. He might have a good point there. But so anyways, long story short, I've been putting the Spy Point cameras out, and within a week of having the camera out, I'm starting to get pictures. Within a week of having the camera out, everything goes dead. The past 3 times I've went and looked at it, and a squirrel has just completely chewed the antenna off. I had another buddy tell me we need to put some PVC over the antenna, so I did that. Well, that shut my signal down. My signal didn't work worth a crap after I put PVC over it. And so it was kind of like, either I need to go spend a day out there killing every squirrel in the woods, which I just don't have the time to do, or I've got to switch brands of cameras until I can figure something out that, the squirrels might not like this brand's antenna. I don't know why, but maybe that's the case. Anyways, I've been using Muddy for the past couple weeks. Haven't had a squirrel problem yet. Getting great pictures. Good to go on that. Service price is all about the same. It might actually even be a little bit cheaper on these Muddy ones. Anyways, once I get those cameras out, that's what I start doing. I start making logs of my deer, of the different species that are coming in. Every one of these cameras has setups in the settings where you can identify animals, right? So if it's a doe, I can identify that picture as a doe. And if it's a buck, I can identify that picture as a buck, pig, so on and so forth. And the cameras have computer learning technologies in them. So they can look at that picture, see that you identified it as a doe. The next time a doe walks in, they'll put that picture in the doe file, right? so that you end up getting yourself files of does, files of bucks, files of pigs, files of turkey, and then you can go through there and actually hammer down those individual pictures. What I like to do, if it's a place I'm personally hunting or a place that I'm scouting for clients, because as an outfitter I've got 3 days to try to make a guy's dream come true, and so I'm trying to make this work. Some places we've got way too many animals to put pictures. I'd never be able to even sleep, and we don't have battery packs big enough to hold the amount of pictures. But other places it's fine to do this. So what I'll do is I'll build those file folders, and then I'll go back through and I'll find, I'll start naming my bucks, and I'll find, Big 8. Let's call him Big 8. Okay. And then I'll roll through all of Big 8's pictures, and I'll see that on these type of moon phases or these temperature degree type days, Big 8's only coming in at dark. But if I've got a half moon and temperatures under 60 degrees, he shows up with 30 minutes of shooting light left, whatever it may be. All right. So then I play that accordingly, looking at my maps, looking at my weather, going, okay, it's a half moon this week. On Thursday, the temperature is going to be 48 degrees and the wind's going to be blowing the proper direction for me to sneak in there. I have a really good shot now of understanding that I'm going to get in there and be able to kill that deer. If I'm not doing that and I'm just guessing and going, you know what, I seen a good buck on my camera, I'm going to go sit there, I could go in there and bust him out extremely easily because I don't know his parameters. And I think that's very important, that you have to let the animals set the parameters. Now, I know if you're going elk hunting, it's a little different, but you also have to remember, if you're going elk hunting, if you're going mule deer hunting, you're not getting in as tight right off the bat. So you're sitting back, you're doing a lot of glassing, you're trying to find these animals and then make your plan from there, which you've got a lot shorter list of data that you can compile, but nonetheless, you can compile data by sitting on a cliffside. If you got a 9-day hunt or a 7-day hunt, you can take the first 2 days to sit, just like we said earlier, in an area, watch those deer moving through, watch those elk moving through, especially if you're rifle hunting, and you can see that at 5:30 p.m. they're coming from this point to this point. I need to get myself in position as long as the wind's right, get down to 200 yards, and go ahead and kill that elk or that mule deer when they come through. You're on your private property, you got access to it all the time, run the cameras, building the logs, doing everything organized, way to go. If you're not on private property, you're going out public doing it, short-term hunt, 1 week long, just like we said, you got time to compile a much shorter list of data, but still make it happen. I think this kind of answers our question. Is scouting an important part of hunting? I think yes, no matter where you're hunting at. I think it can always help. Sure, we can go out, we can put feed. I own a feed company. We're about to get, launching and start selling products here pretty quick. I love people that buy deer feed. I don't think that's the only answer there is to killing a deer. I don't think that's always the only answer there is to killing the biggest buck on your property. I think the actual art of scouting plays huge into being able to get some of those animals that don't give you the opportunity sometimes to sit at a feeder and watch an animal come in and shoot them. You hear all the time people talk about big bucks get killed, in Texas. Big bucks get killed over hand corn, meaning it wasn't a feeder, you just went out and dumped some out. Or that, you shoot the biggest bulls in Colorado and New Mexico in hell holes because they get pressured, so they drop down into this stuff that's just impassable almost, and that's where the big ones get killed at. That's easily understandable by looking at a map and going, okay, well, I mean, on my Colorado elk scouting, I showed JJ the other day, I've already found like 6 camps in this area we've been that over the years people have driven down, and you can see them on the map. There's tents, there's travel trailers, RVs, whatever. People have this stuff set up. Well, I know for a fact that anywhere in that area, I can use that, play that into my advantage to know, okay, these guys that are starting up here are probably moving this way because I doubt they're going back out the same way they came in. And therefore, it's going to push these animals further and further this way. So I can look at all those setups and go, these camps are building a funnel for these elk and pushing them down here into this, whatever it is, dark hole drainage, hell hole, whatever you want to call it. And I can go ahead and try to get to that area first. And so, yes, I don't care where you're going, whether you're in Texas or any other state, scouting makes a huge difference. It will make you more successful. And the more organized and premeditated your scouting is, the easier it will be for you to get in and kill a big buck. Because, like I said, if I had not done the work that I did prior to going nilgai hunting, I would have done nothing but bump nilgai the entire time I was there. And in doing that work, I was able to figure out where I need to go, where I needed to be, and put myself in the position to make that happen. And it's happened time and time again on my, on our personal place out here. I was able to go down there, walk through the bottom of the creek down there, find a trail that I was coming through, get on the map, or that the deer were coming through, get on the map, look and see how they came off that hill, where that creek would be, found a tree to set my stand in, literally have animals walking underneath my stand. Not because, I've gone out there and forced them to come into a feeder, but just because I took the time to look at the map and figure out where other people are at, where vehicles are at, where roads are at, how the contours of the land, roll through that area, where those subtle trails are on the map, where the water is, place myself in between those things in a position that I think that really looks like the deer are coming through there, and just sit back and watch, and it works. And if it works for somebody as dumb as me, it'll definitely work for people like you guys. So, keys to take away from this: get yourself onX. One, scouting's important. Scouting is important. Try to do something new this year if you haven't done it in the past, but try to do something new, and that's go find the deer, as opposed to trying to just, put something up and make the deer come to you. And putting up feeders and stuff like that too, like I said, I think it's great, but this will make you even more successful if you will look on your maps to figure out where to put your feeders, as opposed to just putting them close to easy in and out points from the road. If you'll use your scouting tool to determine where should you put your feeder, you'll have a lot more success also. But scouting's important. Get onX, put that in your tool bag, because that is, in my opinion, the best scouting tool that we have on the market right now. Be extremely organized with how you label your onX. Over label your onX so that you know exactly. The more you label, the more you learn the property you're going to be hunting, and that makes it easier when you get out there to understand and correlate where you're at in conjunction with where you were looking on your map. Use your cameras. If you have the ability to use your cameras, be very organized and detailed in your cameras. That way you know down to the days and times and weather patterns that big buck's moving through your area. And if you don't have the ability to use your cameras, stay away from the area, do a lot of glassing, and try to take a short amount of time and compile as much data into that time as you can to present yourself the best shot opportunity possible. Guys, that's going to be it today. Once again, thanks to Perfect for bringing this topic up. You guys go check them out. If you have other topics, let me know. If you have a way that you scout that has been successful for you, leave it in the comments below. You guys are killing it on the comments. I look at a bunch of videos that have thousands and thousands of more views and subscribers than we have, and a lot of times we have more comments than they have, because we're just doing a really good job of interacting with each other on here, and I want to keep that interaction going. Thank you guys so much. Please share this stuff. Let's get more followers going with this, or subscribers, whatever they call them here on YouTube. And let's continue pushing this, because the more people we get involved, the more interaction we have, and the more knowledge we're all able to pass around and share. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you back here on Monday for episode number 12. This is October 22nd and has been episode number 11. Thanks for joining the Blackwater Podcast.